Have you ever wondered why some people seem calm no matter what happens, while others are exhausted by every problem, every opinion, and every unexpected change? Most people believe they are suffering because life is difficult, but Buddhism points to a deeper cause. The real suffering begins when we try to control what was never ours to control. A message goes unanswered, someone changes their mind, a plan falls apart, and suddenly the mind enters a battle against reality. But here is the awakening many people miss. Peace does not come when life finally obeys you. Peace comes when you stop demanding that it should. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot control is the moment your freedom begins. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from change itself. It comes from our resistance to change. The mind wants certainty. It wants people to stay the same situations, to remain comfortable, and life to unfold according to its plans. But reality follows a different law. Everything changes. This is why so many people feel exhausted. They are not only carrying today's problems, they are carrying the burden of arguing with reality. You see it everywhere. Someone cannot accept a relationship has changed. Someone spends years replaying a mistake. Someone keeps waiting for life to return to how it used to be. But Buddhism calls this attachment to what is temporary, and attachment always creates suffering. The moment you stop asking life to be different from what it is, your heart begins to soften. What once felt like a battle becomes a lesson. What once felt like punishment becomes a path toward freedom. If attachment creates suffering, why is it so hard to let go? Because the mind often prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. Even when something is hurting us, part of us still clings to it because it feels known, predictable, and safe. A person may stay attached to a relationship that no longer brings peace. Another may keep replaying old memories, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they fear who they will be without that story. Buddhism teaches that attachment is not love. It is the fear of losing what the ego believes it needs to survive. The tragedy is that the tighter we hold on, the more we suffer, and the freedom we seek often begins the moment we loosen our grip. This is why the Buddha spoke so often about impermanence. Nothing remains exactly as it is. People change, emotions change, success changes. Even the person you are today will not be the same a year from now. Yet the mind keeps demanding permanence from a world built on change. And when reality refuses, suffering appears. Think of trying to hold water in a closed fist. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Wisdom begins when you stop fighting impermanence and start flowing with it. What changes is not the problem. Resisting change is. This is why the Buddha spoke so often about impermanence. Nothing remains exactly as it is. People change, emotions change, success changes. Even the person you are today will not be the same a year from now. Yet the mind keeps demanding permanence from a world built on change. And when reality refuses, suffering appears. Think of trying to hold water in a closed fist. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Wisdom begins when you stop fighting impermanence and start flowing with it. What changes is not the problem. Resisting change is. But understanding impermanence is not enough. The real transformation begins when you stop expecting life to make you comfortable all the time. Many people believe peace will come when every problem disappears. The Buddha taught the opposite. Peace comes when you no longer depend on perfect conditions to feel okay. A rainy day does not argue with the clouds. A tree does not resist the changing seasons. Yet human beings spend years fighting realities they cannot change. The more you accept life as it is, the lighter your heart becomes. Acceptance is not weakness, it is wisdom. If this message resonates with you, leave a comment with the number 1 below. It may be the first step toward letting go of what is weighing down your mind today. One of the biggest obstacles to inner peace is the need for approval. Many people spend their lives adjusting their words, choices, and behavior just to avoid criticism or rejection. Without realizing it, they hand their emotional power to others. A compliment lifts them up. A negative comment ruins their entire day. A little attention makes them happy. A little silence makes them anxious. The Buddha taught that anything outside your control cannot be a reliable source of happiness. People's opinions change like the wind. The moment your self-worth no longer depends on how others see you, a new kind of freedom appears. You stop performing for acceptance and start living according to your own truth. The need for approval often begins in a very subtle way. At first, you simply want to be liked. Then you start avoiding difficult conversations. You hide your true feelings. You say yes when your heart wants to say no. Little by little, you abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. This creates a quiet form of suffering. Outwardly, everything may seem fine, but inwardly you feel exhausted because you are constantly trying to become the person everyone else expects. Buddhism teaches that true peace is impossible when you live according to other people's expectations. The more you seek approval, the further you drift from your authentic self. Freedom begins when your own conscience becomes more important than public opinion. When you stop chasing approval, something surprising happens. People lose the power to control your emotions. Their praise no longer defines your value. Their criticism no longer defines your identity. Their acceptance becomes appreciated but no longer necessary. Imagine how much energy is wasted worrying about what others think. How many dreams are abandoned because of fear of judgment? How many people stay silent because they are afraid of being misunderstood? The Buddha taught that freedom begins when you stop looking outside yourself for permission to be who you are. The strongest people are not those who win everyone's approval. They are those who remain true to themselves, even when approval never comes. Yet detachment is not only about letting go of other people's opinions. It is also about letting go of the need to control how they think, feel, or behave. Many of us suffer because we keep trying to change someone. We want them to understand us, appreciate us, apologize to us, or become the person we wish they were. But no amount of worrying can change another person's heart. The Buddha taught that every person follows their own path, shaped by their own choices, habits, and understanding. Trying to control that path only creates frustration. Peace begins when you stop managing other people's lives and start taking responsibility for your own. The energy you once spent changing others can finally be used to transform yourself. Another lesson the Buddha taught is that not every battle deserves your energy. Many people are exhausted, not because life is difficult, but because they are fighting too many unnecessary battles. They argue with strangers, replay old conversations, defend themselves against every criticism, and carry resentment for years. But what if peace is worth more than being right? A wise person learns to ask a simple question. Will this matter a year from now? Most of the things that steal our peace today will be forgotten tomorrow. Detachment teaches us to choose carefully where we place our attention. Every argument you walk away from, every grudge you release, and every unnecessary conflict you refuse to carry creates more space for inner peace. Of course, walking away from unnecessary battles does not mean avoiding life. It means learning the difference between what deserves your energy and what does not. The Buddha taught that suffering grows when the mind reacts to everything. A single comment can ruin your day. A small setback can become a major crisis. A minor disappointment can occupy your thoughts for weeks. But wisdom begins when you create space between an event and your reaction. Not everything requires an answer. Not every criticism requires a defense. Not every problem requires immediate action. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to let something disturb your peace. A calm mind sees clearly. A reactive mind creates suffering where none existed before. When the mind becomes calmer, you begin to notice something most people never see. Much of your suffering was created not by reality, but by the stories you kept telling yourself about reality. A person ignores your message, and the mind creates rejection. A plan fails, and the mind creates failure. Someone leaves, and the mind creates the belief that you are not enough. The event is one thing. The story is another. The Buddha taught that the mind often adds a second layer of suffering on top of life's natural difficulties. We suffer once from what happened, and then suffer again from the meaning we attach to it. Freedom begins when you see this clearly. Not every thought deserves to be believed. Sometimes peace arrives the moment you stop arguing with reality and stop believing every story your mind creates. One of the deepest forms of attachment is the belief that your happiness depends on a specific outcome. You tell yourself, "I'll be at peace when this works out." I'll be happy when they come back. I'll finally relax when everything goes according to plan. But life rarely follows our script. The Buddha taught that attachment to outcomes creates anxiety because the future is never fully within our control. The more tightly we cling to a particular result, the more fear we feel when reality moves in a different direction. This does not mean giving up on your goals. It means giving your best effort without making your peace dependent on the result. True freedom begins when you focus on the action, not the outcome. When you do that, success becomes a blessing, not a requirement for happiness. When you release attachment to outcomes, you also release a tremendous amount of fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of the future. Most of these fears exist because the mind is constantly trying to predict and control what has not happened yet. But the Buddha taught that life can only be lived in the present moment. The future is shaped by the choices you make today, not by the worries you repeat in your mind. Plant the seed, do the work, act with sincerity and wisdom, then allow life to unfold. A peaceful person is not someone who knows exactly what will happen next. A peaceful person is someone who trusts themselves enough to handle whatever comes. And perhaps this is the greatest lesson of all. You were never meant to control everything around you. You were meant to master what happens within you. People will come and go. Circumstances will change. Plans will succeed or fail. None of these things are fully yours to command. But your attitude, your choices, your awareness, and your response are always within your hands. The Buddha taught that true freedom is not found in controlling life. It is found in no longer being controlled by it. The moment you understand this, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes quieter, and peace begins to feel natural. As you practice detachment, you may notice something unexpected. Life does not become empty, it becomes lighter. Many people fear letting go because they believe they will lose something important. But in reality, what disappears is not love, joy, or meaning. What disappears is the constant tension of trying to hold everything together. You stop carrying other people's expectations. You stop dragging old disappointments into new days. You stop exhausting yourself by chasing what was never meant for you. The Buddha taught that peace is not something you create. It is something that appears when unnecessary burdens are removed. Sometimes the greatest gain in life comes from finally learning what to release. Another beautiful change happens when you stop clinging to the past. Many people live in yesterday without realizing it. They replay old mistakes, revisit old wounds, and carry regrets long after the moment has passed. Their body lives in the present, but their mind remains trapped in a chapter that has already ended. The Buddha taught that suffering continues when we refuse to leave the past where it belongs. The past can teach you, but it cannot hold you unless you keep returning to it. Every moment spent reliving what cannot be changed is a moment stolen from the life unfolding in front of you. Healing begins when you honor the lesson, release the burden, and return to the present moment where peace actually exists. Detachment also changes the way you experience relationships. Instead of asking, "How do I make this person stay?" you begin asking, "Does this relationship bring peace, respect, and growth into my life?" This small shift changes everything. The Buddha taught that attachment often makes us confuse love with possession. We become afraid of losing people, so we cling tighter. Yet the tighter we cling, the more fear we create. Real connection does not grow through control. It grows through freedom, trust, and mutual respect. When you stop chasing, forcing, or holding on too tightly, relationships reveal their true nature. Those who genuinely value your presence will stay willingly, and those who leave may simply be making room for something more aligned with your path. In the end, detachment is not about losing the world. It is about finding yourself within it. When you stop chasing approval, controlling outcomes, changing people, and holding on to what has already passed, something remarkable happens. You discover a peace that does not depend on circumstances. The Buddha taught that true freedom is not found in possessing more but in needing less. The less you cling, the less life can disturb you. The less you resist, the more naturally peace begins to flow. May you walk forward with a lighter heart, a calmer mind, and the wisdom to let go of what no longer serves your path. If these teachings have brought value to your life, subscribe to Virtue Buddha's teachings and join us for more Buddhist wisdom, inner peace, and spiritual growth. There is another truth that many people discover only after years of struggle. The more you chase peace outside yourself, the further it seems to move away. People search for peace in relationships, achievements, money, status, or perfect circumstances. And while these things may bring temporary happiness, none of them can provide lasting stability. The Buddha taught that lasting peace arises from within. It is not something the world gives you. It is something you uncover when the noise of craving, fear, and attachment begins to fade. When your happiness depends on external conditions, it remains fragile. But when it comes from within, it remains steady, even when life changes around you. A steady mind is not built during easy times. It is built through the challenges you face every day. The Buddha taught that wisdom grows when we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can this teach me?" Every disappointment can teach patience. Every loss can teach acceptance. Every difficulty can teach resilience. The people who develop deep inner peace are not those who avoid suffering. They are those who learn from it without becoming trapped by it. When life becomes your teacher instead of your enemy, even painful experiences begin to serve your growth. And that is when suffering slowly transforms into wisdom. As wisdom grows, you begin to understand something that once seemed impossible. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Sometimes a closed door protects you from the wrong path. Sometimes a disappointment saves you from a greater mistake. Sometimes the people who walk away create space for the people who truly belong. At first, the mind sees only what was taken away. But with time and awareness, you begin to see what was given in return. The Buddha taught that attachment makes us focus on what is gone, while wisdom helps us recognize what is emerging. What feels like an ending today may be preparing you for a beginning you cannot yet see. Trust the lesson, trust the process, and keep moving forward with an open heart. The more you practice letting go, the more you realize that peace was never missing. It was simply buried beneath fear, attachment, and endless mental noise. For years, the mind chases certainty, approval, and control, believing these things will create security. Yet they often create the very anxiety we are trying to escape. The Buddha taught that freedom begins when we stop seeking stability in what constantly changes. When you release the need to control every outcome, life feels lighter. When you release the need to hold on, your heart feels lighter. And in that space, something beautiful appears, a quiet peace that was within you all along. And perhaps that quiet peace is what you have been searching for all along. Not more success, not more approval, not more control, just peace. The Buddha taught that the restless mind is always looking for something else, somewhere else, sometime in the future. It believes happiness is waiting around the next corner. But because of this, it misses the only moment where life truly exists, the present one. Look around. Take a slow breath. Notice that in this very moment, you may already have enough. Enough air to breathe, enough strength to continue, enough wisdom to take the next step. Peace does not arrive when everything becomes perfect. Peace arrives when you stop demanding perfection from life and learn to embrace the present moment exactly as it is. When you learn to live in the present, gratitude begins to grow naturally. Instead of focusing on what is missing, you begin to appreciate what is already here. Instead of worrying about tomorrow, you become more aware of the blessings of today. The Buddha taught that a grateful heart is a peaceful heart. It no longer measures life by what it lacks. It finds richness in simple things: a quiet morning, a kind word, a healthy breath, a moment of stillness. Gratitude does not remove life's challenges, but it changes how you experience them. And often, that change is enough to transform suffering into peace. In the end, the path to peace is simpler than most people imagine. You do not need to control everyone. You do not need to predict the future. You do not need to carry every burden, fix every problem, or win every battle. The Buddha taught that freedom begins when the mind stops clinging to what it cannot keep. Let life flow. Let people be who they are. Let the past remain where it belongs. And most importantly, let yourself rest. Because the moment you stop fighting life, you finally have the energy to live it. As you move forward, remember this peace is not something you find once and keep forever. It is something you choose again and again. Each day presents a choice. You can hold on or let go. You can resist reality or accept it. You can feed fear or strengthen wisdom. The Buddha taught that every moment is a new opportunity to begin again. No matter what happened yesterday, you can return to awareness today. No matter how heavy your heart feels, you can take one small step toward freedom. And often that single step is all it takes to start changing your life. The journey of detachment is not about becoming less human. It is about becoming more awake. You still love. You still care. You still dream and hope. But you no longer allow your happiness to depend entirely on people, circumstances, or outcomes. The Buddha taught that wisdom is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to experience life without becoming imprisoned by it. When your heart is no longer chained to fear attachment and constant wanting, a quiet strength begins to emerge. You realize that true security was never outside you. It was always within you, waiting to be discovered beneath the noise of the restless mind. So, if there is one lesson to remember from everything we have explored today, let it be this. You cannot always control what happens around you, but you can always choose how you respond. People may leave, plans may change, challenges may appear without warning, yet none of these things have the power to take your peace unless you surrender it to them. The Buddha taught that freedom begins the moment you stop seeking stability in a changing world and start cultivating stability within yourself. May you walk through life with a calm mind, an open heart, and the wisdom to let go of what you cannot control. In that letting go, you may discover the peace you have been searching for all along. Before we end, take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are you still holding on to that is stealing your peace? A past mistake, a person who has already moved on, a future that refuses to unfold the way you planned. The Buddha taught that every attachment carries a hidden burden. The tighter we hold on, the heavier that burden becomes. You do not have to release everything at once. Sometimes freedom begins with a single decision. One grudge forgiven, one fear faced, one expectation released. Small acts of letting go create space for great peace, and over time those small moments become a completely different way of living. Remember, the goal is not to remove every challenge from your life. The goal is to stop allowing challenges to control your inner world. The Buddha never promised a life without difficulties. He taught a way to remain peaceful in the middle of them. Storms will come. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Change will arrive when you least expect it. But when your peace is rooted in wisdom rather than circumstances, you stop being shaken by every wave. You begin to trust yourself more. You react less. You suffer less. And little by little you discover a freedom that no external situation can take away. The beautiful thing about inner peace is that it does not depend on perfection. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to heal every wound overnight. You do not need to become a different person before you deserve peace. The Buddha taught that awakening begins with awareness. The moment you see your attachments, fears, and habits clearly, transformation has already begun. Be patient with yourself. Growth is not a race. Healing is not a competition. Take one mindful step today, then another tomorrow. Over time, those small steps will carry you farther than years of worry ever could. As we close this reflection, remember that peace is not something you need to earn. It is your natural state beneath all the fear, attachment, and struggle. The Buddha taught that suffering fades when we stop clinging to what changes and return to what is always here: awareness, presence, and wisdom. You do not need to control life to find peace. You only need to stop fighting it. When you let go of what you cannot hold, you finally make room for what truly matters: a calm mind, an open heart, and the freedom to live fully in this moment. Thank you for sharing this moment of reflection with me. If there is one thing to carry with you today, let it be this simple truth: you do not have to carry every burden that your mind offers you. Some thoughts can be released, some fears can be softened, some attachments can be left behind. The Buddha taught that freedom is not found by escaping life, but by meeting life with wisdom and an open heart. May you move forward with greater clarity, greater compassion, and greater peace. And whenever life feels heavy again, remember, Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply let go. Before you leave, take a slow breath and ask yourself one question. What would my life feel like if I stopped fighting every change, every disappointment, and every uncertainty? Perhaps you would sleep more peacefully. Perhaps you would worry less. Perhaps you would finally have the energy to appreciate the life that is already in front of you. The Buddha taught that peace is not hidden somewhere far away. It appears when the mind stops chasing, resisting, and clinging. May today be the day you release one unnecessary burden and take one small step closer to freedom. And sometimes that single step changes everything. The path of detachment is not completed in a single day. It is a practice, a choice you make again and again. Some days you will let go easily. Other days the mind will return to old fears, old attachments, and old habits. That is part of the journey. The Buddha taught that lasting transformation happens through patient awareness, not force. So be gentle with yourself. Keep returning to the present moment. Keep choosing peace over struggle, wisdom over reaction, and acceptance over resistance. Little by little, your heart becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer, and your life becomes freer. As your understanding deepens, you begin to see that freedom was never about changing the world around you. It was about changing your relationship with it. The world will continue to change. People will continue to come and go. Unexpected challenges will still appear. But the Buddha taught that suffering decreases when wisdom increases. You no longer expect life to be perfect. You no longer demand certainty from an uncertain world. Instead, you learn to meet each moment with awareness and balance. And in doing so, you discover a strength that cannot be taken away because it does not depend on anything outside yourself. The Buddha's message is simple. Peace is not found by holding on. It is found by letting go. The less you cling to what changes, the more you discover what remains unchanged within you: awareness, wisdom, and inner peace. If today's message touched your heart, do not let it remain just another video. Take one lesson, one insight, and bring it into your life today. Remember, peace is not something you find at the end of the journey. It is something you cultivate with every choice to let go, every moment of awareness, and every act of wisdom. The Buddha taught that a calm mind creates a peaceful life, and that journey begins within you. If you enjoyed this reflection, please subscribe to Virtue Buddha's teachings and join our community for more Buddhist wisdom, inner peace, and spiritual growth. May you be peaceful. May you be free. May you walk your path with wisdom and an open heart.